In this video, you're going to learn 3 simple steps to overcoming stage fright for worship leaders. Coming up. Hey, Spencer here from leadingworshipwell.com, your daily dose of practical worship leading tips. If you want to find those tips, head over to Instagram or Facebook at Leading Worship Well, where I'm posting new worship leading tips every single day. But you're here on YouTube, so go ahead, hit subscribe down below, and let's get into it, because today in this video, we are talking about how to overcome stage fright for worship leaders. And if you're a worship leader and you've been leading for a while, can you remember that first time that you led worship? Maybe, though, you're just about to lead worship for the first time, or you've only been leading worship for a couple months, and you're still nervous to step in front of your church. And let's be honest, it is nerve-wracking, because you're in front of these people, you're playing an instrument, you're singing, you think they're judging you, you've got all these responsibilities, and you want to lead your church well, you want to do it well, but you're nervous. It happens. I remember the first time that I led worship. Luckily, I think my worship team leader kind of did that thing where they're like, Spencer, do you want to come up on stage and play with us and on a Sunday morning? And so I went up there, and they're like, hey, listen here, bud, we aren't going to plug you in for these first couple Sundays. We just want you to be on stage, that sort of thing, which I'm appreciative of. I think that's a great tactic to ease people into the role of leading worship, is to just have them be up there on stage. But at some point, you got to make the transition to actually leading. And now you're in front of people, you're leading, you're singing a song for the first time in front of people. It's nerve-wracking. And so I want to share with you these 3 simple steps, the 3 things that you need to do to overcome stage fright if you are a worship leader. Before we get there, I want to hear from you. What's your best tip for overcoming stage fright? If you've already done it, let us know. Maybe there's something that you've been trying to focus on to overcome stage fright. Maybe it's starting to work. We want to hear those things, so let us know in the comments below. As you scroll down to the comments, leave a like on this video, and let's hear from you. What do you do to overcome stage fright as a worship leader? I'll talk to you in a second. Thanks so much for leaving your answer down in the comments below. Hey, make sure you read those answers. We've got a lot of smart people in the Leading Worship Well community, and I'm thankful for that you aren't just learning from me, because I know some things, but I don't know everything. So make sure you read those comments down below, and I'm sure you'll hear some even different tips than what I'm about to share in this video. But let's get into these 3 simple ways that you can overcome stage fright as a worship leader. The first thing that you need to do to overcome stage fright as a worship leader is to make sure that you prepare properly. You need to make sure that you are actually prepared, because there is a direct correlation between the amount of preparation you put in and the confidence that you have in leading your church. And so if you want to lead confidently, you've got to prepare properly. If you want to lead confidently, you've got to prepare properly. If you want to lead confidently, sorry, I'm a broken record, but it sounded good whenever I said it, so I wanted to say it over and over again. And so make sure you put in the proper preparation. Now, the thing is, whenever you're first starting to lead worship, we're nervous because we don't know what the proper preparation is. So let me give you a few key points. Number 1, make sure you know your music, inside and out. You should be able to play these songs without the music in front of you. That should be your goal, at least. Maybe you can't quite get there if you're a newer musician. It takes time to memorize songs, but that should really be your goal, because once you memorize a song, and you can play it when you're by yourself, in your bedroom, at home, wherever it is, you're going to be able to lead confidently whenever you're in front of people, because there's no difference between playing in front of people and playing by yourself. Technically speaking, you've got people in front of you, but you're doing the same thing whether you're in your bedroom or whether you're in front of people. So keep that in mind. If you can play it in your bedroom, you can play it in front of your church. And so keep that in mind. Prepare properly musically. Also think through your transitions. Think through, how am I going to get from this song to the next song to the next song? What do I need to do logistically? Do I need to move my capo? How am I going to do that? Is there something that I need to say between these songs? What am I going to say? You can plan those things out in advance. It's no less spiritual to plan your speaking transitions out in advance than it is to figure them out in the moment. It's actually better to plan them in advance. So those are two things that you can do, just two things that quickly came to my mind that you can do to prepare properly. Make sure you know your music inside and out. Chords, lyrics, riffs, whatever it is, and then make sure you know your transition spots. And if you can get those two things down and you can run through, that's another thing, to not just learn your songs on a song-by-song basis, because that's not how you're going to be doing it on Sunday. You're going to be playing them straight through. So run through your set list just like you would on a Sunday morning. And if you can do it in your bedroom, you can do it in front of your church, because playing music is the same wherever you are. All right, let's move on to the second thing that you should do. Number 2, if you want to overcome stage fright as a worship leader, this is mindset, and don't check out because this is mindset. I know people want practical stuff, but you got to get this through your head as well, and that is that you've got to realize that it's not about you. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound harsh, but this is the truth. Any nervousness that we have comes from pride. Any nervousness that we have comes from pride. Think about it. What are you nervous about? Like, I want you to answer that question. What are you nervous about? Well, I'm nervous that I'm going to play the wrong notes. I'm nervous that I'm going to sing the wrong lyrics. I'm nervous that I'm going to put my capo in the wrong spot and start a song in the wrong key, right? Because why? If we get deeper, because it's going to make me look bad. And I don't want to look bad in front of my church. And maybe the other part of it is you just want to lead your church well too, which that's okay. But a lot of nervousness comes from pride. But the truth is, when you lead worship, it's not about you. Like, ideally, you should be invisible when you lead worship. You should just be pointing people to God, and that's what they should be focused on. They shouldn't be focused on you, although some people will be. But the main point of worship is not for them to see how good of a musician you are or how good of a speaker you are. The main point of worship is for them to see how good God is. So if you keep that in mind and realize that leading worship is not about you, it takes a lot of pressure off of you. Not to mention, God is going to use whatever you do if you're doing it to the best of your ability, like honestly to the best of your ability, not just using that as an excuse. But if you are actually doing it to the best of your ability, God is going to use whatever you are capable of doing for his glory. He's going to see your heart and know that you are putting in the work that you need to put in. Sure, if you've been leading worship for 5 months, like, you're not going to be at the level of Chris Tomlin, who's been leading worship for however long he's been leading worship for, like 30 years or whatever. Or you're not going to be at the level of the worship leader down the street who's been leading for 20 years. But you can do what you can do. And God is going to bless that, especially if you're using it to serve your church. So just lean into that. Understand that worship leading isn't about you. It's not about you playing the right notes. It's not about you singing the right words. Those things are important, and we want to get those right. But at the end of the day, it's about God. It's about people seeing the goodness of God and you giving them the opportunity to respond to that truth. So remember, worship leading is not about you. That takes the pressure off your shoulders. Finally, number 3, the third way to overcome stage fright, and you're not going to like this one because you can't just instantly do it right now, but this is the truth. To overcome stage fright, it takes repetition. You've got to do these things over and over again. That's true for anything in life. It's true for worship leading. The more you do something, the more comfortable you get doing it, and you start to get your systems down. You get we talked about how to prepare properly at the beginning of this video. Well, you're not just going to learn that all of a sudden one day. I mean, I shared some key points with you that will help you prepare properly, but everybody does things a little bit differently. And for you to figure out that system that truly works for you, where you feel like you are really prepared to lead worship, that takes repetition. You got to prepare over and over and over again. And the good news is there are 52 weeks in a year. There's 52 Sundays in a year to prepare for, plus any other worship gatherings you have at your church. Add on top of that, you probably got, 100 times to lead worship in your church at the most. And so just think about that. Like, You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Do your best for where you're at right now. You're going to grow as you keep leading worship, and you're going to get more confident. So it's okay to be nervous right now. Like, even if you do have stage fright and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can get in front of these people. Just force yourself to do it, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with being in front of people. You're going to realize that it's really not about you, that people aren't standing there staring at you, watching your fingers, making sure you're hitting all the right notes and singing the right words. I mean, if you sing the wrong words, they might notice a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. So just release yourself from that pressure, because it's not meant to be put on you, and step into this confidence that the more you do it, the better you're going to get. That's how everything in life works. The more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get at something, the more confident you are at it. And so just keep doing it over and over again. Make the commitment. I'm going to do this no matter what. It's going to be scary for the first 5 times, the first 10 times, the next 20 weeks. But you're going to hit that week where you're like, man, this feels like normal now. And I'm not paying attention to what everybody else is doing. I just know what my responsibility is. I don't care what they're thinking about how I'm playing musically. I just want to lead them in worship well. And so keep that in mind. This takes repetition. You might not feel comfortable at the end of 6 months, but at the end of a year, man, you're going to be way ahead of where you are right now. Even me, like, I've been leading worship for 14 years now. I feel like every year I get better. I learn something new, because that's just how things work in life. And I feel more confident in what I do. I can't imagine, like, 5 years from now, how much more confident I'm going to feel in my worship leading and all of the new things that I'm going to learn. And I've been leading worship for 14 years. Maybe you've been leading worship for 1. I mean, think about whenever you're 5 years in, like, how confident you're going to feel. It's going to be amazing, but you're only going to get there if you repeat this process over and over again and keep refining how you prepare, how you lead, all of that stuff. You're going to get more confident. So repeat, and you will be more confident. So there they were, the 3 ways to overcome stage fright. They're simple. I didn't say that they were necessarily quick, but you got to put in the work if you want to be prepared. You've got to think about the fact that it's not about you, and you got to put in the work of repeating worship leading over and over again. It doesn't just happen instantly. So if you're like, I've been leading worship for 6 weeks and I'm still afraid, like, that's okay. That's where most people are at. Maybe you've been leading worship for 6 months. Some people are still nervous at 6 months. That's okay. Just keep putting in the work, and you will overcome stage fright. You'll realize that it's not about you. It's about simply pointing people to the goodness of God and providing them the opportunity to respond. Hey, if you do want to improve your worship leading, I've got something for you. It's called 5 Tips to Instantly Improve Your Worship Leading. If you learn these 5 tips, it'll probably help you lead a little bit more confidently and maybe be less nervous whenever you lead. So it's a free audio training, and in it, I share with you these 5 simple tips that will instantly improve your worship leading. They aren't hard to do. You've just got to know them and implement them into your worship leading. So there's a link to that in the description below. Make sure you get that. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me today. Until I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.